In the ancient epochs, long before the earth was ever defined by mankind, there lived a creature that carried the ultimate stillness within the grandest of bodies. It possessed the most astonishingly long neck in all of evolutionary history, a silent highway connecting the dust of the earth to the starlit sky. Yet, this anatomical marvel, which nearly pushed the boundaries of nature, destined it to spend its entire life in a state of profound restraint, moving to an almost melancholic slow rhythm. Tonight, beside the gently flickering hearth, let us journey together into the true life of the Mamenchisaurus with this story that requires no effort to remember. As the curtain of night fully drapes the world, it stands silently in the center of an unnamed primeval lake, enveloped by low-hanging night mist. Its neck, spanning over 10 meters, stretches slowly into the void, resembling an ancient bridge frozen between heaven and earth under the watery moonlight. There are no roars of predators, nor any calls from its kin. There is only its long, deep respiration, sending faint, delicate ripples across the chilly surface of the lake. This sound is so ancient, so low, that it seems to merge with the very pulse of the earth, compelling anyone who hears it to slow their own breath. On this long and quiet night, nothing needs to be rushed, much like this primeval behemoth standing in the fog. What we are about to unfold is not a survival chronicle of bloody struggles, but a long epic poem written by a solitary soul in the primeval dawn of time. Please close your eyes, listen to the gentle rustling of the water lapping against the shore, and let us walk into the hidden, eternal night guarded by the Mamenchisaurus for hundreds of millions of years. When fate bestowed upon the Mamenchisaurus an unparalleled height, it also quietly locked its life in the heaviest of shackles. That colossal neck, which made up nearly half of its entire body length, was both its greatest survival asset and a lifelong burden it could never escape. To support this pillar of life, composed of dozens of massive cervical vertebrae, its muscles, ligaments, and every single blood vessel endured an unimaginable tension. This meant that in the cutthroat world of the late Jurassic, it could never turn with agility or run fiercely like other predators. Its world lacked the thrill of a full sprint. It knew only day after day, year after year, of slow nudges and meticulous balances, akin to a spiritual practice. As the first glimmer of dawn pierced through the canopy of the tall Alsophila trees, the young Mamenchisaurus had to take a long time just to raise its head from sleep. This movement demanded immense patience, as the blood inside its body fought against the fierce pull of gravity to reach its high-altitude brain. Rising too quickly would invite a lingering vertigo, a fatal vulnerability in this treacherous prehistoric jungle. Thus, it learned to wait, and to listen to the slow, steady cadence deep within its soul before making any move. This slowness was not cowardice, but a noble form of restraint and tolerance born from a clear awareness of its destiny's limits. The jungle wind howled past its ears, scattering fallen leaves and bearing the faint, distant roars of carnivorous dinosaurs. Yet, it kept its head suspended at that safe height, quietly watching the distant mountains reveal themselves piece by piece in the morning light. Its day began like this, devoid of panic or chaos, marked only by the low, grating sounds of joints grinding slowly under the weight of gravity. In its own way, it declared to this ancient land that some lives were born not to run, but to stand firm in the wind. Though the fleeting shadows darting through the mud were swift, they were never destined to overlook the contour of the entire world from such a lofty vantage point. It bore the weight of its neck, and in return, it enjoyed the unique perspective that weight provided, a silent game of endurance and ascent. In the long years to come, it would carry this seemingly cumbersome miracle through countless anonymous twilights and dawns. In that primeval era ruled by giant dinosaurs, the survival philosophy of the Mamenchisaurus seemed exceptionally lonely and idiosyncratic. As its mountain-like frame moved along the edges of the dense primordial forest, it was always accompanied by the rustling of snapping branches and the dull thud of the earth vibrating. Yet, in stark contrast to its imposing exterior, its inner world was a serene, waveless ocean of silence. It would often wander alone to the middle reaches of a wide river, where the current was gentle and the riverbed was lined with thick, soft sand. The water greatly alleviated the crushing pressure of gravity on its immense body, offering its four massive legs, which bore several tons of weight, a brief respite. It would rest its long neck flat upon the surface of the water, allowing the cool river to wash over its hard scales, whisking away the residual heat from its skin. In these moments, it resembled a peaceful peninsula, silently observing the carnivorous dinosaurs on the distant bank, locked in frantic, bloody battles for territory and mates. Those savage roars, splattering blood, and lustful pursuits were nothing more than transient smoke in its gentle, enormous eyes. It knew deep down that the greatest power in this world was not destruction, but the endurance to stand firm like a rock through wind and rain. It simply chewed the succulent ferns by the water, channeling its surplus energy into a long lifespan capable of defying time. The water formed tiny eddies around it, making faint, crisp gurgling noises that became its favorite background music for the afternoon. Occasionally, unknown tiny flying creatures would land on its broad back to rest, treating it like an unsinking reef in the middle of the river. It did not reject the closeness of these minuscule lives. In fact, to avoid startling them, it intentionally made its already slow movements even slower and lighter. Its sheer size became a reliable sanctuary. Under its shadow, this corner of the primordial river felt extraordinarily stable and serene. Its life was rarely touched by fierce conflict, as it habitually steered clear of rowdy gatherings, seeking out its own gentle waters instead. For the Mammon-Ksaurus, life required no proof to anyone. As long as it could tread on firm sand and feel the caress of the flowing water, it was enough. As the sun slowly dipped toward the western mountains and the golden ripples on the river faded away, it finally raised its neck, walking into the depths of the jungle cloaked in damp mist. Its silhouette grew heavier in the twilight, looking like a lonely traveler of countless centuries, heading toward its next night. When time drifted into the starry midnight, the most secretive and healing moment for the Mammon-Ksaurus truly arrived. Nights on the primordial continent were cold and clamorous, as nocturnal predators sharpened their claws in the dark, emitting spine-chilling hums. But the Mammon-Ksaurus had its own sanctuary, the vast, high night sky that it could easily reach with its height. Stepping with a steady pace, it walked toward a hidden lake nestled among the mountains deep within the forest, the ultimate home of its soul. The lake mirrored a sky full of stars. As the breeze blew, the starlight shimmered like crushed gold upon the water, as if the entire Milky Way had settled here. Standing in the deepest part of the lake, the water rose just past its belly, providing a warm, enveloping embrace reminiscent of a mother's womb. Inch by inch, it slowly extended its neck until its head completely pierced the boundary of the night fog, stepping into an absolutely silent high-altitude world. At that height, the noise and danger of the forest seemed to retreat into the far distance, leaving only pure moonlight to illuminate its slender face. Closing its eyes gently, it felt the soft touch of the high-altitude breeze brushing against the tiny scales atop its head, a private caress granted by nature in the deep of the night. Its breathing became extraordinarily long and slow. Each inhalation felt like drawing the silence of the entire starry sky into its abdomen, before transforming it into a warm white mist exhaled slowly. The air up high was chilly, but a constant warmth surged within its body, driven by the ancient, powerful furnace of life humming inside its colossal frame. High above the mist, it could not hear the agonizing cries of dinosaurs dying on the ground, nor the relentless squabbles over survival. Here, there was only the direction of the wind, the tracks of the stars, and the hourglass of time flowing silently. Its long neck became a hypersensitive antenna in the dark, capturing faint signals from the distant universe and the deepest sighs of the ancient continent. It just stood there in absolute stillness, as though it were no longer a dinosaur, but a flesh-and-blood giant tree growing in the center of the lake. The night mist gathered and dispersed around its neck, slicing its body into two parts, one anchored in the mortal world, the other hidden in heaven. Every soul that followed it to this height would feel a peace that struck directly at the heart, a complete release of all defenses. In this dreamscape woven only of moonlight and white fog, there was no past to regret, no future to fear. Everything was suspended in the breath of this single second. This ultimate slow-paced life allowed the Mammon-Ksaurus to accumulate an almost divine wisdom and composure over the long ages. It witnessed the birth of countless new lives and watched many invincible overlords collapse into dry bones amidst the torrent of eras. During a rare, catastrophic drought, once abundant rivers dried up completely, and once lush pine forests withered away under the scorching sun. Panic and anxiety spread among the dinosaur herds, and many herbivores fought violently over the last green oases, ultimately perishing in their own strife. Only the Mammon-Ksaurus maintained its unbelievable calm and restraint, for it possessed a survival dimension unattainable by others. By virtue of its astonishingly long neck, it easily reached the tender shoots at the tops of tall redwoods growing 100 meters high, canopies that remained untouched by the drought. Those greens hidden deep within the clouds were the final gift left by the era to a gentle sage, and the foundation of its proud survival. It contested not a single shred with the creatures on the ground. Instead, it enjoyed its own abundance and serenity alone in the high sky. In this brutal natural culling, it demonstrated the most resilient vitality through the gentlest posture, echoing like a silent epic across the earth. When the rainy season finally returned with the long-awaited thunder, it still stood there, neck slightly bowed, quietly welcoming the first rain to wash away the dust. That prolonged drought reshaped the landscape of the continent, causing many once powerful groups to vanish entirely into the dust of time. Yet, the Mammon-Kissaurus continued to leave a trail of deep, rhythmic footprints on the revived soil with its unhurried steps. Its very existence was a gentle mockery of that disaster, proving through survival that fleeting dominance and ferocity could not guarantee eternal endurance. Only those lives that knew how to hide their sharp edges in a crisis and maintain restraint in adversity could hear the wind of the next era. It continued to stroll between its lakes and forests, raising its head to the high starry sky every night, living its days just as it always had. The marks of time etched tiny wrinkles upon its coarse skin, medals of patience granted by the ages. It had grown all too accustomed to the transformations of this world. The splitting of lands, the rising of mountains, and the rerouting of rivers were, to it, merely a protracted cycle of seasons. It harbored all of history within its massive chest, transforming it into a low, thunderous yet incredibly tender resonance with every breath it took. And the autumn when the Mammon-Kissaurus entered the twilight of its life, the entire continent seemed to plunge into an exceptionally long evening. Its movements grew even slower than before, with each lift of its massive foot requiring a longer pause in the air before landing steadily. It knew that the fire of its life was gradually burning out, an irreversible law of nature and the ultimate destination for every living being. Yet, it harbored no fear or resistance, for it had walked far enough and looked high enough in this life, leaving no regrets behind in the mortal world. For the last time, it came to the serene lake that had accompanied it for most of its life, a lake reflecting the entire Milky Way in the deep of the night. The stars in the sky were exceptionally bright, like diamonds hung upon black velvet, radiating a cold yet tender light. It waded slowly into the lake, feeling the familiar water gradually submerge its body, washing away the aches and exhaustion accumulated in its bones over the years. Gathering its remaining strength, it extended its long neck straight and high into the ethereal night sky, just as it always did. Its head once again pierced through the cool night mist, reaching its favorite height, where the wind still carried the familiar, crisp scent of the cosmos. Gazing at those unchanging stars, it seemed to see every night of its past, reliving the silent hours spent beneath the moonlight. It released one final, long, and deep sigh. The sound traveled down its long neck, stirring a massive ripple across the lake. Then, it gently closed its enormous eyes and let its head slowly fall, allowing its long neck to rest flat upon the warm water like a draped vine. Its body gradually stiffened in the center of the lake, becoming a part of this ancient body of water, a silent bridge of life frozen here for eternity. The night wind blew, and the mist gathered once more, completely wrapping its remains in a blanket of white serenity, as if it had never left. Its soul had already transformed into the wind-up high, the sand at the bottom of the lake, and the earliest memory of gentleness and restraint on this continent. In this Jurassic midnight, free from human disturbance, a great long-necked behemoth concluded its final performance, departing with absolute quiet and grace. Today, the clamor that once rampaged across the earth has vanished into thin air, leaving only cold fossils to silently recount the past. Yet, when we reopen the memory of the Mammon-Kissaurus on this quiet night, we can still feel that peaceful power spanning hundreds of millions of years. That long neck, once misconstrued as an evolutionary burden, eventually became the ultimate symbol of elegance and restraint through the filter of time. It used its life to teach us that in this loud and impatient world, slowing down is actually a deeper, more potent survival wisdom. The current lakes remain tranquil, and the primeval night mist seems as though it never dispersed. The silhouette of the Mammon-Kissaurus is gradually fading away into the hazy starlight. Its breathing has completely blended into the breeze beside your ear, becoming the gentlest, most reassuring companionship of this night. There is no need to think about tomorrow's hustle, nor any need to worry about an unknown destiny. Like it, surrender all your exhaustion to the boundless night. In this peaceful spacetime guarded by the giant beast, let your consciousness gently sink, drifting to sleep alongside the rippling waters. Listening to the low narration by your ear, and feeling the warmth from your blanket, your eyelids are becoming heavier and heavier, sinking down. The ancient starry sky is lighting the final night lamp for you, and that gentle giant stands at the edge of your dreams, quietly awaiting your arrival. Sleep now, leave all the noise to yesterday, and find your own slow pace in this quiet night. Good night, distant and gentle world, good night, to every soul yearning for peace.